I think we live in a world where there's a lot of injustice, where we don't all start from the same place. I think what you should be focused on is what you can do for your life. Your circumstance is your circumstance. I've always believed that my disadvantages are my superpowers.
Begin to believe that somehow, some way, that the monster that is on the bed is bigger than the monster under the bed. You are becoming a beast, but it takes going through trials and tribulations. It takes going into battle and entering the arena of life and realizing that you are not a victim, you are a victor. But the only way you get a victory is to engage. Stop being afraid of what's in the closet or what might come out about your life or mistakes you've made that someone might expose about you. Embrace the fact that you are not perfect. You've made mistakes, but those mistakes have not become your character. Those mistakes have helped you fortify your character.
People have talent. People have a lot of talent. And this is going beyond your talent. So when there's no more talent, what happens to you? Most people quit. People only go to their talent level. And once your talent level is gone, it becomes a mental game. That whole mental game sets in then. And most people can only perform to their talent. Why is this my big hurdle? It's because you're performing to your talent.
The journey to success, or in really any endeavor, can be a very painful journey. And you can feel very alone. And it's designed that way. I'm getting all this rejection and negative feedback from people. I've got haters. That's the road you're on. Those are the signs you're on the road less traveled. Those are the signs you're on the path that most people aren't going to be on. That you're going to a place most people aren't going to go in their lives. And so what comes with deciding to be great, deciding to do something awesome with your life, is all of those things.
What am I willing to do with my energy, my time, and my knowledge to produce the results? That's the bottom line. What are you willing to do? And what most people don't realize is they don't give up on their goals because it becomes insurmountable or it's impossible. Is that they just looked at what they wanted and they just decided within themselves, consciously or unconsciously, I'm not willing to produce this result. It's the bottom line. Because the only thing that counts in life are results, not reasons of why you didn't do it, but results. That's the only thing that counts.
You have control over your mind. You just have to assert it. You have to decide that you are going to be in control, that you are going to do what you want to do. Weakness doesn't get a vote. Laziness doesn't get a vote. Sadness doesn't get a vote. Frustration doesn't get a vote. Negativity doesn't get a vote. Your temper doesn't get a vote. So next time you are feeling weak or lazy or soft or emotional, tell those feelings they don't get a vote.
You are becoming more than you ever imagined. You're a better person than people understood you to be because of what you've been through. But what you've been through allows you to be an expert to a whole lot of other people. You can now speak to people in confidence and tell them that just as you made it through, so can they. Because you have learned and matured that the imagination begins with an image. And if you can make an image of yourself, if you can believe about yourself that there's something great in you, then you can become that. It starts with an image. Look in the mirror and confidently say to yourself, I am more than I ever thought. I am stronger than they know. I am more powerful than I ever believed. I am capable of doing things that no one has seen me do before. I am much more than anyone has ever spoken over my life, including myself, and I'm about to dream even bigger.
Do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? Right? Like courage. Do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? And so anytime you got to be courageous, Let's look at it from the standpoint of dreams, goals, and aspirations. You got your dream, your goal, and your aspiration, and then you got reality. And oftentimes reality doesn't reflect the goal, the dream, and the aspiration. And so when you think courage, like being courageous and following your heart because it somehow knows what you want to do, it's almost like when you feel something that you should do, and for some strange reason, like your mind or your spirit tells you, nah, I don't want to do it because it takes you outside of your comfort zone, but you know you should do it, you could feel it, and then you go against it.
Happiness as an aim is shallow and weak. It cannot withstand suffering. Obviously, because when you're suffering, you're not happy. And if the purpose of life is to be happy, then when you're suffering, your life has no meaning. And first of all, don't aim at being happy because that's just not going to work, especially when the storms come, and forget about that. And there's going to be times in your life where you're suffering so much you can't believe it. And so you're going to need something a hell of a lot more robust than happiness to get you through that. And then you might say, well, what's more robust than happiness? Or maybe even what's more robust than pain? How about adventure? How about we go out and sail the uncharted seas?
The first way to get focus is to find purpose. The way to find purpose is you must identify what it is that you have to be purposeful in. Right when you are struggling with what to do, who you are, what's your next move, you are in an identity crisis. You are struggling with just who you are. See, you have not discovered who you are.
The plan gonna happen. We can delay it, right? When we don't want to be courageous, when we don't want to encounter that level of faith that we know we need along our journey for our goals, dreams, and aspirations. You can delay it, but courage, that's a different ball game. That's pressing forward in the face of opposition, adversity, uncertainty. Different ball game, but the question remains, do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? That's the essence of courage to me.
Turn the page. And just because you had some bad chapters doesn't mean your story can't end well. Turn the page.
What is your wake-up call? What is enslaving you? What is controlling your thoughts? Is it the television set? Feeding your mind images of what life should be? Is it the internet drawing you in and controlling your time? Or is it weakness? A lack of discipline that prevents you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish?
It's important for lost young people, male and female alike, to develop a vision and take on some responsibility and understand that they have a vital role to play in the world, that the lack of their best hurts everything. And I think that's true. And the sad thing is that there's very many people who have not heard an encouraging word in their life. And it takes so little to encourage them that it's rather tragic.
You have to discover who you are in order to move you forward. If no one ever gave you the directions, when you get up in the morning, you go get in the car or you walk out your door, you have a destination in mind. If you go outside with no destination, what do? You wander around. Once you don't have a destination, you are going to wander around. You cannot get in your car without a destination. Where do you drive? So you are in an identity crisis.
Because when you think about true courage, I look at it as a person being who they authentically were made to be. in every avenue, in every aspect of their life. When they walk out of the door in the morning, they are who they're supposed to be. It takes courage to be that.
I'm not saying that there aren't things in life that we just have to do. There are. But what I am saying is ask questions. And don't believe everything that you're told. And don't follow the path just because it's there. Don't get in line just because other people are.
Those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey.
Here's what you should know about winning before you chase it. Winning's not loyal to you. It doesn't care about you. Winning doesn't care how sore you are. Winning doesn't care how much sleep you get. Winning doesn't care how hard you work at times. Winning requires all of you and then more, and it promises you nothing. It's a mastermind at creating fear and doubt in your mind. It causes setback after setback. So the question is about winning. Are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? And why chase this thing called winning? Because the only thing that's guaranteed in life, if you don't chase it, is losing.
You have only one life, so don't waste it being controlled by someone else. Success and failure are generally slow processes. Either slowly building things up or gradually tearing them down. And that's why I say you've got to pay attention. You have to watch. You have to watch every single second. Because those seconds, they turn into minutes. And minutes turn into hours, and hours turn into days.
There are times when you wake up and you feel like you're on empty. You're just not motivated. You just don't feel like you have it today. Maybe you should skip the gym. Maybe you should just call it a day. Maybe you should throw in the towel. Maybe you should give up. But the fact that there's a maybe there lets you know that you shouldn't do it. You see, maybe means there's a choice. That even though I may feel empty, it's a feeling, and there are facts. And the fact is that feelings don't last. Facts do.
We don't make hopeless pleas. A lot of us, we make hopeless pleas. Like we pray with hopelessness. It's insecure hope. It's hope that doesn't really tie into belief. We make confident statements. We don't say it can get better. We say it will get better. If you really embrace everything you're going through and realizing it doesn't define you, realizing that there's always a new day, a new beginning, realizing that the tide always changes, realizing that things will change, no storm lasts forever, it will get better in your life.
So deciding as you look at your life, as you look into the future and say, what fears am I holding on to? What fears that I'm allowing to imprison me, that's keeping me from breaking out, that's keeping me from living up to my true potential, that's keeping me from really being happy, that's keeping me from having a sense of adventure and excitement in my life? What's keeping me from controlling my destiny?
And so, that second that just went by, that counted. And so did that second. And so did that one. And in those precious seconds, you are either building or you are decaying. You are either gaining ground or you are losing ground in that second. And in every second. Every second counts. So, make every second count.
On an individual level, I believe you have to see it as a gift for yourself. You have to see it as a superpower. Because when your story is written, and I'm confident it will be written, it'll be a great story. And chapter 2 and 3 will include a bunch of disadvantages, a bunch of hardships you have to overcome. In fact, chapter 4, 5, and 6 will be hardship too. But really, I think overcoming hardship is kind of the fun part in life.
If you can put in the faith, if you can just trust in yourself, the opportunities and the doors that are open for you, no man will be able to close, because you constructed that house yourself with your own hands. You put together things with hard work and discipline that no one else saw. You did it at night when no one was watching. You did it when you doubted, but you kept going because feelings are not facts. And the fact is that if you keep going, you will make progress. Every step that you take is one step closer to your goal, to your destiny, to the person you can be and will be.
People wonder, well, what's the meaning of life? Like, what's it all about? What justifies the suffering and the misery and all of that? It's like, well, that's what justifies it. It's like you put yourself up against that. You think, okay, with all of this pushing against me, how much can I push back? Could I move the horror an inch back with all the strength that I have at my disposal? Man, and the answer to that is, yeah, you can.
One of the things limiting you from your income, your impact, a world-class life. You care too much about what people think about you. Everyone has an opinion. Why let the opinions of other people deny you from a life that will make history?
The path of fire and adversity, the path of blood and sweat and suffering, the war path is the interminable path of discipline, which is why it leads to freedom. And beyond that, in the end, the war path leads to peace.
Can't get up in the morning, I'm going to tell you why. Because they can predict the feeling of everything that's going to happen in their life, and their body's resigned to the familiar. It says, oh, another mundane day. But remember when you were a kid and you were going on a field trip? What happened then? You were up and dressed and ready to go before your parents were up, because you knew something unexpected was going to happen. That's how we should live our lives. Waking up with the understanding to expect the unexpected, and something unusual should happen in our life as a result of our efforts.
When you begin to look at your life, you can decide to use fear as a blocker, or you can decide to use it as building blocks. You go forth in a spirit and a knowing that there's a way that you can begin to handle this. There's a way out here somewhere. There's a solution. What it is that you're seeking, that you have the capacity to whatever comes up, to handle it, to face it. And rather than feeling powerless, you begin to feel powerful.
I say to myself, I refuse to believe that if I'm a good person and that if I'm working hard, I refuse to believe that this doesn't work out. I know that this moment's going to pass, and I know that I will look back on this moment and I'll see exactly what I was meant to learn. And the fact that you believe in your heart, that you got the mindset, you got the work ethic, you got the ability to figure this out and to keep going, and that eventually if you do, what's meant for you is going to find you. You will be rewarded for all this in the way that you're meant to be rewarded. That's amazing. It's an amazing feeling because you can pick yourself up no matter what happens.
You should be fucking scared. You should be anxious. You should be worried. You should be concerned. You know what that means? That means you actually give a fuck about what you're trying to do. Everybody tries to preach this no anxiety, no stress, low drag, happy all the time shit. Bro, when you really care about something, you really want something to work, you're gonna feel stress about it. You're gonna feel anxiety about it. You know what? It means that you fucking give a shit. All right? You should feel that way.
Isolation. You can be out in the world, you can be a history maker and a productive legend. You don't get to do both.
Fear. Fear is the thing that has kept most of us from becoming great. Fear is the thing that creeps in that reminds you of a past sin, a past problem, or past failure. Fear that somebody might expose you, might say anything, or feel that if I try this, what if it all goes wrong? Maybe it's time you bet on you. Maybe it's time you push everything to the center and say, here's everything I am and everything that I want to be, and I'm willing to bet on me.
I don't care where you come from. I don't care where you were raised. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care about any of that shit. If you do the work consistently, if you invest in yourself consistently, 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2. 10 years of motherfucking work when everybody else is partying, making excuses, doing the cool thing on the weekend is going to pay off.
What really you need is hunger. The most successful people on earth never lose their hunger. The hunger to be more, to do more, to share more, to create more, to become more, to give more. And if you have a hunger and it doesn't die off as soon as you succeed a little bit, then you start to become something extraordinary. Those are the people that you know their names of because they're famous at a different level. They've been famous for decade after decade because they keep performing at the higher level, not the person who's a one-time wonder.
People have problems and they're often annoyed and oppressed by the fact they have problems, but you have your problems and the problems that bother you. And you might ask yourself, well, why do those problems bother you and not other problems? And I would say maybe it's because in those problems you actually find your destiny. And those are often things you don't want to look at, but it was something that bothered you. It turned out that was your problem. And if you faced it, well, then you figured out on that road that that was your destiny.
Bet on you. Bet on the lifeline that God gave you. Bet on the talents that you have developed. Bet on the stuff that you have sacrificed to become you. Bet on the experiences that have molded your mindset. Bet on the education that you've acquired. Bet on the relationships that are around you. And I promise you, the odds aren't against you, the odds are with you. Because the odd thing is, very few will ever do what you're willing to do. It takes something to become something. It takes trials, it takes hard work, it takes dedication. It takes avoiding all of the pitfalls that fear wants you to accept.
With myself, I have to hold the line. There are areas within myself where I cannot compromise. I am going to work hard. I am going to train hard. I am going to improve myself. I am not going to rest on my laurels. I'm going to own my mistakes and confront them. I am going to face my demons.
Use it as fuel. If you look at stories of great men, of great women in history, that story always has a lot of disadvantages that were overcome. There is something in the process of overcoming hardship that creates greatness. Most people quit through that process. If you can survive it, then your story will be a great one.
You've never looked at yourself in the mirror and said, you let you down. Until you get to that point, you let you down. You're not brave enough. You want to put it on somebody else. The reason why I'm not successful is because of my boss. That's the problem with some of you. You always want to blame other people. You want to hold other people to the fire, but you're not holding yourself to the fire. You just said you're giving 50%. You owe you an explanation. You owe you an explanation. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why are you only giving 50%? What's wrong with you?
It's time to walk in a room and change the atmosphere of the room, because you're there. When you arrive, things change. When you walk in, your presence fills the room. The way that you think, the way that you are, the way that you grind, the way you get up and go at the gym, everything that you are is being developed so that you can change the world and let them see that there was a purpose for your lifestyle.
I'm not going to give up or give out or give in. I am going to stand. I am going to maintain my self-discipline. And on those points, there will be no compromise. Not now, not ever.